Welcome, everybody, to the Winter Peg Report. I have a very special guest today. Before we jump into that, I would like to get you following us on all the social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. We're on Twitch as well and TikTok. There's nothing on the TikTok, but you should follow us there because there will be stuff. It's coming. But basically everywhere, it's at or slash the WPG magazine. Try to make it as easy as possible across the board. And if you want to get in touch with us, you can call and leave a voicemail or text 431-800-4555. That's the WPG talk line. You can reach us by email, podcasts@thewpg.ca. And that's so, like, if you wanted to be a guest on the podcast or you knew somebody who should be a guest on the podcast, that's the email address that you want to get us at. It's pretty straightforward. Then if you're looking for advertising, to advertise with us, the info's there on the screen. But for those listening to the audio podcast, real quick, 431-489-2401 is the number to call, or you can email ads@thewpg.ca. So without further ado, and again, I'm Mark Adam. I don't know if I said that at the beginning, but I am joined by Mr. Magic Man on the guitar and vocals. This is the one and the only Jamie Buckborough.
Evening. Good to see you guys. Good to be here.
Well, thank you for joining me here on the Winter Peg Report. And I tell people, like, generally this podcast is all about discussing all the cool stuff that happened last week in Winnipeg. What happened last week in Winnipeg? We all stayed inside and cried about it. So there's not a lot. There's. What is this? I thought you clicked on something. Oh,
I did. I was trying to adjust something, but that worked out way better than I expected.
Awesome. Just grid mode. We should literally just do the rest of the whole thing just in together mode. Like, wait, it'll pop me in eventually.
I just assumed that would put us together in a screen, but wow, that was glorious.
Yeah, I don't think that's the one we want. But anyway, the wonders of technology. And this is the other thing, right? Like, I like talking to people and I like face-to-face, and this over the internet thing has been tough for the last 2 frickin' years. But yeah, I'm getting very tired of looking at my screen to see my friends, and I would like to be out in the world again. But yeah, generally we talk about the events that happened and the events that are coming up this week. But again, that's not really a thing these days, so we're just going to roll on by, and we're going to talk about some really cool local people. Since we can't talk about local stuff, we'll talk about local people. I'm going to turn my phone off because that's a super unprofessional thing to have not done to begin with. And we're off to a rockin' start. So, Mr. Jamie Buckborough, I got some questions for you, if you don't mind.
Absolutely not.
Excellent, because that's would have really cut this short. But what was it? Because you're a local musician. And by the way, if you haven't seen him, and I can't imagine anybody interested in music in this city hasn't seen Jamie Buckborough at some point. But what is it that got you into music in the first place? Like, how did you come from like a crazy musical family? Did you go to music school? What was it?
Basically I grew up listening to music through the family, and my dad played guitar. He played in bands with my uncles and aunties, and my mother sings as well as my aunties. And we sort of just grew up, me and my sisters and I, that my mom would love that I corrected that. And we grew up surrounded by lots of singing, lots of music. Mostly we would go to church every Sunday, and my parents were the music ministry. So basically Dad would play guitar. There'd be 3-part harmonies. We'd hear an hour of that before church, an hour of that during church. And then also we'd go to all sorts of lovely music parties with all their friends, and there'd be a sea of guitar players. And lots of fun. So I was pretty much immersed in it for my entire life.
That, yeah, I mean, it comes across in your music that it's part of you. Like it's Jamie Buckborough who is a musician. Like he just that's what you are. So
Yeah, 100%. It's ingrained for
yeah,
sure.
and I mean, you mentioned some family. Your sister's quite a talented singer herself, and you guys play as tobacco and gin, or is it gin and tobacco?
Tobacco flower, tobacco
Tobacco
flowers and gin.
flowers and gin, right? Uh, and when did you guys come up with that name, and what's sort of the meaning there?
We did it. I mean, we had been playing together for some time, and basically, she'd always been singing, but she recently, in the last maybe 3-ish years, decided to pick up the guitar and get a little more. I mean, as serious as you can get about getting out there and starting to play. And so we started doing some duos and stuff together, and she started coming out to some shows. And after a while, we figured we should probably get a name. And she just one day she decided enough with the Jamie and Sarah Buckborough show. She wanted a real band name, so she came up with that one, and it was too good to say no to.
And you guys very very talented. Again, for those listening or watching, if you haven't seen them perform, it's awesome. And when the two of them perform together, the harmonies, the whole thing, it's fun, it's energetic. Uh, I mean, for a duo, like there's a lot of energy that goes out. I know from experience that being in a duo is not the easiest thing to sort of like rile up a crowd, but you guys have your own rhythm, and it's really something to watch.
Yeah, thanks, man. That's really nice. Thank you.
It's great. I've been a fan of you since the very first time I saw you on stage, and I'm that jerk in the back yelling out the weird random songs that I know are yours. Uh, so I apologize, and sorry not sorry kind of thing.
No, I feed off of those jerks. Those jerks are all my friends.
That's good. All right. Well, I don't feel so bad. That's good. So you also you mentioned you need a proper band name. How many bands are you in? Because I know you're in Jive Town. You got the Squid Squad,
Yeah,
which does like all the
yeah.
you know jam night kind of stuff, and you guys literally interchange members, on a week to week basis or whatever. And like, what
Yeah.
other hundreds of projects are you involved in?
I mean, like over the years, there's been several. Like the first band ever was that I started was James and the Giants, and that was with Jesse Miller, Micah Bell, Ian Sorensen, and Graham Leverick, and then that group morphed into the Honey Sliders, and we went through a slew of people, and now we've fell onto Jesse Miller, Micah Bell. So that core unit of the rhythm section is still there. And then we have Chris Carmichael and Alex Campbell is on keys. And so that one's called the Honey Sliders now. So it's that one. And then the other one, I mean, I do some solo stuff by myself and solo. And also Pale Riders was one little 3-piece with Josh Ayers on the drums and Sean Malton on harmonica. I played in Attica Riots for a spell, couple few years. And I think that's it. I think there might be one I'm forgetting because there's so goddamn many
Yeah,
of them.
there's a lot. It's great too. What's the one? Because you do the Neil Young tributes, and do you guys have a name, or is it just the Honey Sliders doing?
Yeah, it's basically just the Honey Sliders, and then I because like when we do the CSNY tribute, there's so many vocal parts that need to be filled in that we can't cover it with just the core group. So I bring some sisters in, and then so that's Christy, Katie, and Sarah Buckborough, and then also we'll bring in some backup guys to fill in some of the guitar sounds. Like Rob Paschal did some guitar, and Dan Russell did a little bit of steel and stuff like that. And yeah, we just sort of fill out all the sound that needs to be filled.
And it sounds great. Like it's every time I've been to a show with you, and I've had the pleasure with the Squid Squad, of course. I've had the pleasure of actually sharing the stage with you on a couple of occasions, and it's
Hell yeah.
always just such an honor to be part of that because I I recognize that our talent levels aren't equal. I'm not going to say which one is which.
Depends on what depends which part of the night it is, because third set it's getting pretty close.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm not on that level. I don't hold my own in that group for more than maybe two songs. You know, so that's all I got in me.
Well, that's the fun. That's the fun part about jam nights, though. It really, it's. I mean, that's the main focus is to not intimidate people that feel like they're not good enough to get up with the likes of us. When in reality, that's exactly where I came from. That's how I got my start, was jumping on stage with people that were way ahead of my game, and then they brought me up there and coached me along, and some light jabs here and there to get you further along, just to make you realize that you better tighten it up next time.
Yeah, the challenge is laid out, right? Like you got that gauntlet.
Absolutely,
so you've
yeah.
been performing since you were a kid. What other things do you do in the arts? Are you artistic in other ways, or is it just like music and everything else can F off?
I mean, I wouldn't go as far as everything else can. Do we have to say F?
Well, you can whatever you want. Like this is this.
Oh yeah.
We can mark it explicit. Whatever.
All right, I love that. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say everything else can fuck off, but I mean, I enjoy lots of other art. I don't necessarily do any of it, Like, I mean, it's pretty much mostly in the musical realm that I hang out in.
Right.
But I thoroughly enjoy drawing when I do. I've got a couple random paintings kicking around.
So you can draw because, man, like my stick figures are on
not
point,
well.
Like,
I've done some things, but it's just strictly a hobby, and it's been quite some time since I've delved into it.
Fair. I was just curious, and because like outside of music, which is the only context that I and a lot of people have for you, and one of the advantages of having you here is I can ask you, what other things do you do? Like, what does Jamie Buckborough do other than music?
I mean, I like to I like to go and watch music, if I'm being honest. Basically, like given the opportunity, I'll go check out. I mean, it's a rarity because I'm so busy, but when I have an opportunity to go check out a friend's band or maybe a band I've never seen, I certainly take the opportunity to do so, because there's so much good things happening in Winnipeg, and I'm usually doing something, and it's so nice to go and be able to support some of the other people that are doing the same thing.
That makes a lot of sense. And so the love of music begets the love of music begets the love of music, right? So it's
absolutely, yeah.
That's great. I love that. And so you don't have to tell us where you work, but what you do have like a day job at this time.
Oh yeah.
So what is it you do for
absolutely.
fun at work?
Yeah, I paint houses for a living with a small company. It's been I've been painting for, I mean, mostly I've been doing trades on the side while doing the music thing, because I just never wanted to rely on music, just in case I don't want to have to pay bills with that money, because when I can't, then I'm just going to start resenting music. So I figure if I have a day job, I can just cover all those bases, and then I can just make sure me and music have a nice, tight little relationship.
So is that some advice you might pass on to somebody else that was trying to make music kind of their life? Is like have something else that pays the bills so that your free time is your time?
I mean, I would to like that's how I felt for me. That's how I make it work. It's not necessarily for everyone. There's a lot of people that aren't doing it and strictly do it. And I would say that those people have much more time to commit to it, which is a bonus for sure, because I definitely don't have the same amount of time to do it. But at the same time, I don't think if I didn't have a job, I don't think I'd be very productive at home, because when I have had time off, that pandemic, the first couple of weeks we didn't have any work, and I just sat around a whole hell of a lot, let me tell you.
It's funny, like, the WPG exists partially because of the lockdowns. Well, the first one anyway.
Yeah.
Because I had this idea for a thing, and like, when am I going to find time to do it? And then it's like, hey, go sit at home for a couple of months. Oh, I guess I got some free time on my
Yeah.
hands. And I'm like you, like I don't like the thought of that sitting around. Like I don't like that. Like what do I do? So I didn't
Yeah.
like that feeling. So I put myself to work. Um, but you said you like to support other bands and stuff. Do you have a favorite band? And if so, are you allowed to say out loud, or is it going to hurt all your other musician friends' feelings?
I wouldn't say that I have a favorite band. I kind of just I just I love to watch people that love to do what they do up on stage doing what they do. It's really fun to be on the other side of it and just sort of soak it in and see what other people have to offer, and also just to be able to hang out with the friends as well on the other side of that stage and get to absorb a show from that end with those people instead of having to look out and just seeing them from afar and
Yeah,
nodding, giving a little wink, and that's all you
yeah,
get. This way you get to have a conversation about what you're watching, and it's really fun to just sort of pick people's brains about what you're watching with them.
right. And I like that. That's good. So like COVID, the whole pandemic, I do not want this isn't a political conversation, but it has certainly
Yeah.
affected all of our lives, musicians and entertainers quite in particularly. How how hard did it hit you, and how have you sort of pivoted to try and cope with that, or have you even?
I mean, I would say that the first the first lockdown when everything was completely shut down and there was nothing to do, that my sort of thing was I never really played around the house a whole lot because I was playing so often that when I got home, that was my me time and my us time with my lovely woman partner. And so then because I was home and that's just what I'm used to, I didn't touch the guitar for seemingly, like, I mean, it was probably went for a good 3 or 4 months that I didn't touch a guitar, didn't play, didn't sing anything. And then after a while, I started to realize, like, this is dumb. I should start picking it up and doing something with it because I can't just be stubborn and wait for it to come back to me because it doesn't look like it's going to come back anytime soon. And then right around then, or if not too far after that, Rami Mays came up with this gig opportunity with curbside concerts where you could do it at a safe distance in front of people's houses. And that was a super sweet opportunity that really, like, it was a game changer, in my opinion, for even just opening up the floodgates to people realizing how easy it is to book bands and or groups to come to the houses, that it's never been facilitated like that before. So now this opportunity is there and everyone's just chomping at the bit for it. And I mean, without trying to brag, I don't like to talk about it too much, but that was the tail end of that first lockdown was some of the most lucrative moments of my life. I got very lucky in that situation where I had full-time work and I got to do a bunch of those curbside gigs. So it worked out quite nicely. And then this second one, when it came around again, and even this time, it started being I don't know, I think it was weighed heavily on people that it was back. And even though they knew they could do it like before, just because it started off very small and then it grew into more and more people could be in your yard and you could have these parties while they're doing it. And then once it started shrinking back down to less people in your backyard and just your house where it started, people weren't as apt to get on board because they wanted to do the big
Yeah,
dog thing instead of the initial small
yeah.
thing.
That's
Yeah, but other than
So
that,
like,
I
and
mean
I'm
that.
sorry to interrupt, but
Well,
like, how did that
well, that
work?
well that ramped down. Sorry. Well, that ramped down. Other like the venues started ramping up again. They started opening, and then we got the Blue Note. The Blue Note was a very lucky venue that opened up outside, and it was a prime location. Play a bunch of music. That's the times changed next door. So we got a bunch of stuff through John Scholes, who hooked us up in a big way. There was a lot of musical community that helped out other musical people amongst it, which was really huge. So I'd say that's a huge way how I managed to cope through it.
And that makes sense. There's a lot of musicians coming up with ways to support other musicians and like create a thing, you know. So, but I want
Yeah.
to circle back to the concerts in the yard. Did you literally just pull up in a van that had speakers built into it and just like everybody just opens the door and jumps out and just starts playing, or like what was the deal?
That was sort of the idea initially. Like I remember when I was
Drive-by
suggested it,
concerts.
they were talking, yeah, pretty much. They were talking about standing on the roof of your vehicle and doing it from up there, and or in the bed of a truck if you had one. But at the time I had a little Ford Focus wagon, and I was like, I don't think I can stand on this roof. It's a little sketchy. So we managed to come to terms with just you set up on the boulevard, and everyone sits in their front yard, and we'd have these battery powered speakers that you could plug into, so you didn't have to plug in anywhere, you didn't have to run any lines, you didn't have to interact at all in terms of getting close to each other. You could just set right up there and plug in, play 45 minutes, roll out. It's great.
That's cool. What a cool concept. Like that's so neat. And
Yeah.
like if somebody had booked you for today, would you go? Or would you look at the weather and say maybe not?
It's funny. There was some diehards that committed to like propane heaters next to them and playing out there. But I'm too much of a. I mean, I'm a baby first and foremost. Absolutely couldn't handle that. But secondly, in this weather, that would just destroy the old guitar, and I can't do that to that little
Yeah,
bastard.
I certainly wouldn't bring out my nice guitar in this kind of weather. But like my fingers, like at a certain point, like can it even be done? You know?
I know. I actually looked into when I was asked about it. I looked into like guitar playing gloves online, and it's not a
No.
thing. There's some people that are offering some options, but it's
Yeah,
not
at
a
the end
thing.
of the day, those your
Yeah,
fingers still the tips at least have to be exposed, even if
exactly.
it's just the tip. But it's
Yeah,
just like
yeah,
like they have to be exposed, and it's just problematic, right? So yeah,
yeah. I'm not a just the tip kind of guy.
fair enough, ladies. Uh, yeah, so that's just a really cool concept, and again, the blue, you know, what formerly was the beer can,
That's right.
became Blue Note Park, and there were, I mean, if you paid attention to the WPG's event listings, you would have noticed that there were a lot of events happening at Blue Note Park, basically every day, sometimes multiple times a day.
Yeah, yeah. It was. I think. Yeah, absolutely. They did very well over that the summer. It was
Well,
great.
they did well for themselves, but they also provided something that people wanted. The ability to leave the house and have
Yeah,
something to do, to see some fine musicians, for the musicians to have a gig to play, to get that, because
yeah.
being on stage is great because you know you get paid for it or whatever sometimes, but like that rush of like, there's a reason musicians, you know, the whole starving musicians exists because like money isn't really the driving factor for most of them. So
No, it
right,
can be.
yeah. Because like you said, you know, all of a sudden it's hard to pay the bills for 2 or 3 months in a row. Then you start to resent music for it, right? So,
Absolutely, yeah.
anyway,
It's a slippery
very
slope.
slippery slope. Um, but given ideal conditions, there's lots of really cool stuff that happens around town. And so I'd like to ask you, what are your favorite events that happen around town? Like blowout events. Like, what's your favorite?
Um, Like to watch, to play, both.
Either or both. Like we could do one of each, two of each, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, Canada Day on Osborne Street is always a great time. I've always had fun watching and playing on that. That's great. Anything on Scotiabank stage at the Forks is always a blast. All those, I mean, I guess Canada Day too, but they do a lot of other stuff as well. And all the street fest, Sherbrooke Street Fest is a lot of fun. I like it when they do those small little street fests and just sort of include the Winnipeg community and get everyone sort of together. It's nice.
Yeah, and some of those are really cool. I know I've seen you at Folk Fest before. I think you might be a fan there.
Oh yeah, of
Maybe.
course. Yeah, folk festival is always a
Yeah.
blast. I have my favorite. Yeah, playing there, doing the traveling minstrel thing, and playing, going on at 3 a.m. at the Times Change tent and playing till sun up is just, oh, it's unforgettable yet very forgettable nights.
I've been to a few of them. I know exactly what you mean.
Fuzzy details, great time.
Yeah, just you wake up, just the vibe. You just like that was amazing.
Yeah,
Not really sure who
yeah,
all was with me, but I remember it fondly. Yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
Absolutely.
It's warm, fuzzy feelings. Fuzzy being the key word.
Yes.
So, if you, what are your favorite venues in the city to see music at? Not to play, but like to go to. Because like I know that a lot of musicians, they have favorite venues to play, favorite to see. When you're out supporting your friends, where do you want to go see them play?
I mean, I gotta lay it down. First is Times Changed. I absolutely love that joint. It's a second home. And then after that, easily the Royal George is a lot of fun. It's a bit of a trek, but
For many,
I
yeah.
mean it's my old stomping grounds though, and I owe them a lot. And it's just always nice and nostalgic, and they're great people down there. Love watching bands, and it's usually the guys that I grew up with playing in on that stage that I end up going to watch because I just can't help it. Got to go down. Then the Park Theater is. I have yet to see those new
Me
renovations,
too.
but they've always had some unreal sound in there, and it's always such a great sounding room that I love watching people play in that joint.
Yeah, I
One of my new favorite ones is the Park Alleys. I've just recently started getting into there after they opened up, and I just love what they've got going on in there. That's a sweet spot.
Yeah, I haven't checked that one out, and I haven't seen the new renovations at the park yet either. I'm very excited to go check out both of those things. I, yeah, I just love that we have this big lockdown and all this stuff, and people are like, you know what we need? More places to hang out, not less. I love it. I love that.
I agree. Yeah.
That's great. But so for playing, like, what's like the easiest walk in, play, walk out kind of venue? Like, what's the easiest venue to play?
The easiest venue, I would say, probably the
Yeah,
George, Royal George, or four times. They've always got. I mean, because I'm such a staple. I've been there since I started. It's been over a decade that I've been going to these joints. They they know me well enough that the house amps are available for me, so I don't have to bring my own amp down, which makes life very
yeah,
easy. And then on top of that, I know the sound guys, so I don't have to go through everyone kind of knows what I'm looking for, and I don't have to try too hard to figure out what I need on up on stage and out on front. They just kind of know what I'm about and just dial it
but
in.
you've earned that. Not everybody can walk in there and play that venue as easily as you could, right?
Well, I appreciate that. That is true. I think I've earned it. Yeah.
I'm just saying, like you've played there, you've put in your time, you've paid your dues. That's why they know your sound, they know what you're after. I imagine it was probably very similar when you went to the Cavern before it shut down, and
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. James Brown for a long time, then Tim Zierski. They're both fantastic sound guys to work for. Nice and easy. And then the whole crew in there too. All the staff knows you very well. And yeah, it's just a comfortable place to play for sure.
yeah. And so compare that to the new Toad.
The new Toad is, I mean, it's a similar vibe, based on like it's because it's a lot of the same staff. Some of the new staff sorry, there are some new staff, but they're fantastic. They fall right into the comfortability just like everyone else because, I mean, they hire who they hire
Yeah.
for a reason. And the stage is a tad smaller than the old cavern stage, and it's a little less dingy, which I'm gonna be honest, I missed. I missed the dirt and the dank. But you know, you can't bring the dank along with you.
You gotta make it. You have to
gotta,
earn your dank.
right, exactly, exactly. And we're working hard at making that joint dank here at Jive Town and Squid Squad.
Yeah, yeah. And listen, also while we're on the subject, I want to quick. Uh, my heart goes out to the Monk family who lost Mick Monk. Speaking of the Toad, he passed away after a battle with cancer. So I I feel for that family and for that community. Mick was all about making the Toad just a little bit better every time he saw something wrong. I'm gonna go fix that right now. Like, you know, I remember being out on the patio one day. It's starting to get dark, and he realizes there's no lights on the new patio. You know what? I'll be right back. So he bounced out to Home Depot or wherever he went, grabbed a bunch of strings of lights and stuff, came back and put them up while people were still sitting there. Like, just I don't want you to have to go inside, you know. And I just thought, like,
Yeah.
that is hospitality, and he will be sorely missed in the community of Osborne Village and everyone else who he's touched. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he did us a lot of good getting us up on that stage for so many years, and he got up there with us for a while, and then on top of that, I mean, the last time I got to talk to him in person was when he was still renovating that joint. Brought me in to sort of figure out if we're gonna get these Thursdays going again, and he had nothing but sparkles in his eyes with all the ideas he had about the new joint, and we're gonna keep it going and do him well for it and keep it alive.
yeah, he poured his heart and soul into that pub and to building a place that people wanted to come hang out. And I you know, my condolences to the Monk family and all of Mick's friends, and you know, it's a big loss for the community for sure. But
Yeah, definitely.
sort of a bummer. Where do you go from here?
Only up, I can assume.
Here's hoping. I mean, we could dive into COVID and go the other way, but I'd rather not. But you know, there's so many people out there in Winnipeg. I mean, you can I off the top of my head, I could name probably a dozen, and I'm not even from here, and I haven't been in the you know, in this industry for half as long as you have in Winnipeg. So I just there's so many people out there just trying to make it work. You got Chris Graves over at the King's Head doing everything he can to make music a thing, to make that community a thing. Very much the same mentality as Mick, where it's just like when people show up in that door, he just wants people to have a great time, and when they leave, they're yearning for the next time they can come back. You know?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
the King's Head, that's got to be a fairly easy venue to play. You know?
Oh yeah, that place has a built-in crowd every time. It's such a good energy and yeah, great amount of people, great staff. The only bummer is those stairs, getting all that gear up them stairs, man. Done that a few times.
Old school.
That's the only downside, and ironically, it's walking up.
Yeah, the only downside is up. So yeah, there's just so many cool spots. Like out on Main Street, the North End's got a cool venue, the Bulldog Event Center. That's a huge space inside that, you know, generally they lend themselves more to like the metal punk, like that sort of that genre. But I mean, they don't limit themselves to that. That's just sort of how that it just sort of built up that way. But
yeah, I've yet to get one of theirs out there, but I've heard nothing but good things.
It's been, you know, great events, all kinds of cool stuff. Really good reviews of the events being put on, which means, you know, like it's not, you know, when you go to metal shows, people are like, oh, am I gonna get hurt? It's like, no, listen, the metal is not the problem. We live in Winnipeg. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter where you go. That uh, yeah, it's I don't know. I just love the fact that music is still a thing, and despite all the lockdowns, musicians are really kicking to get back out there. What are the shows? Okay, for how many shows were canceled? Can you number? Do you know? Like count a
Oh my
recurring weekly
God.
gig as one show. So how many of
Yeah.
your shows got canceled?
I mean, I couldn't tell you specifically, but I mean, it was like every time it happened, specifically the first time though, was easily probably 2 dozen for sure. Like weddings that were coming up within that year, and yeah, all sorts of plans that were way ahead in the future that just got pushed to the next year, and then even then, like then things started picking back up again, and people were starting to do bookings again, and then again right before Christmas, bunch of shit went down, and all just seeing that money just and all those gigs just disappear. It's kind of a bummer, man. But that's the thing is you can't. I just made sure not to focus on that. Just here we go again. It's just a matter of time before we get back to normal ish and can start getting back on a stage with the boys again.
Yeah, and so in the well, Christmas, New Year's was tough because the restrictions changed in that time. And did you end up playing? Because I know you had a gig booked for New Year's Eve. Did that get completely kiboshed, or did you play it?
Yeah, I had a couple things right before Christmas that I was planning to do, and then we had New Year's Eve with Jive Town, but 2 days before Christmas I came down with the old corona, and so luckily nothing serious. I had it was a few days was a bit of a bummer, but nothing bad. But yeah, so everything just got nixed, and my 10 days ended the day after New Year's. So, and I mean, everyone was already, seeing what was going down, and even if we could have done it, it wouldn't have been in a good headspace for anyone that came down. You'd still be kind of just feeling a little uneasy about being
Well,
out
not just
there.
that, but then you got liquor sales stop at 10 p.m. and
Exactly.
so I know a lot of DJs and musicians and entertainers in general, just shows just across the board. New Year's Eve, nope, just canceled. So
Yeah, yeah,
that's tough. It's tough,
yeah,
but
yeah. It's tough, but I mean, we've been getting used to it. That's for damn
well,
sure.
and that's the other danger. So when shows kick back up, are you gonna try and ease into it, or are you just gonna go gangbusters and take every gig you can because you don't know if how long it's gonna last or what?
I'll sort of I'll space it out nicely because I don't like to go too crazy with with one specifically, but I'll probably be doing one with this person, one with that person, one with that group, one with that group, just sort of spread it out. And yeah, I'll basically book for the most part what anyone is willing to offer, and
Yeah.
and then see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I'm keen for you to get back out there because I would like to come to a show. Uh, as a patron, maybe I'll come to Jam Night if that comes back up. When that
Oh
becomes a
yeah,
thing and we're allowed to stand on the same stage at some point.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'll
Nice.
come play some tunes myself. But obviously, I won't do them the justice that you guys do. I thank you very much for being on this show. Is there anything else that you think people need to know about events in Winnipeg and you? Because it's
Well,
easy to miss stuff because you have so much going on.
for sure. I mean, believe it or not, there are a couple venues still doing stuff. So this Thursday, which is January 20th, I will be at the Riverside doing an open mic thing. So just acoustic solo, and if you want to get up, we'll we sort of do a switcheroo. We'll sanitize a mic, put it on there, and when someone comes off, there'll be a sanitized one. We'll switch it, and then I'll sanitize.
And people can also bring their own mics. I would assume you would encourage that as well.
Yeah, 100%. If you feel comfortable doing that, absolutely. And they're recognizing all the protocols and all that stuff. Masks when you're standing and all that. That's tomorrow, the 20th, from 6 till 9:30, and then as well the 27th, I believe, is a Friday. I will be doing the Riverside again, just solo three sets, just me, 6 till 9:30 as well. No cover or any of that.
Nice. No cover is the best cover.
That's what I got going on.
No cover is the best cover.
I agree.
But yeah, that's great. I'm looking forward to seeing you do some more stuff. I love your energy when you're on stage, and it's just so irritating to have a lot of that just wasted. There's so many talented musicians, talented comedians. Like, there's no stand-up comedy for them. Like, I mean, there's a little bit going on, but like, again, like, it's pared down so much that finding it is really hard. So check the WPG's event listings, because we'll update those and try and keep on top of what actually is going on and what isn't. And other than that, I want to thank Jamie Buckborough very much for having joined us. Again, my name is Mark Adam. You can find me basically just living here on the WPG, and hit us up on all them social medias. Is the WPG magazine on basically everything: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, TikTok. Again, there's no TikToks yet, but there will be. And yeah, that's basically it. So, Mr. Buckborough, you're the best. Stay the best, and we will see you out there doing music once again.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate you having me on, and appreciate everything you do.
We're trying over here too, All right. See you next time, everybody.